One of the biggest misconceptions, one of the biggest delusions most of us have is that we are convinced that as we grow older, we'll automatically become more mature, we'll start doing the right things, we'll start taking up more responsibilities. It's almost like we're convinced that we'll just randomly wake up one day and be completely different people. Let me make that a little more understandable, a little more concrete for you. Visualize 10-year older you. Visualize yourself 10 years from now. So if you're 20 years old, visualize your 30-year-old self and think back to how you spent your entire day today. If you're watching this in the evening, think back to today. If you're watching this in the morning, of course, think back to yesterday. Think back to how you spent your entire day. Think back to everything you did throughout the day. Now visualize 10-year older you spending his days exactly like the way you did your today. How do you feel about that visualization? Do you feel comfortable with it? Me personally, I wasn't. I did not feel comfortable with it. I felt disgusted with myself the first time I did this visualization. Now ask yourself this question. You're living like this today, but you do not want your tomorrow under any circumstance. I mean, at least for me, I cannot imagine. I hope that there's no universe where 30-year-old me is sitting and scrolling through Instagram, watching Netflix, watching YouTube videos for 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And I assume it's the same for you. So you're spending your today like this, but you, under any circumstance, do not want your tomorrow to be like this. So what are you doing about it? Are you at least taking some steps? Are you at least moving in the right direction to ensuring that your tomorrow doesn't end up like this? And if you're not actively taking steps to ensuring that your future doesn't turn out like this is your wake-up call. Time just slips, bro. Time just flies away. Before you realize it, your dreaded tomorrow becomes your today. Here's another one for you. And this is going to get a little bit like Inception, so stay with me on this. Look back to your 2-year younger self. So if you're 20, look back to your 18-year-old self and try to imagine him visualizing himself 2 years in the future and seeing the way you are spending your days today. Do you think he would be comfortable knowing that in 2 years he would be spending his days the way you are today? If you want something really jarring, something to really shake you up, do the same for your 5-year younger self, your 10-year younger self, however far back you can go depending on your current age. And if that still isn't enough of a wake-up call for you to change things, for you to turn things around, I don't think anything ever will be. Younger Sahaj had some fucked up notions for life, dude. But this was one of the deeper ones. This was definitely in the top 3. So, ever since a kid, in fact, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a doctor. And every kid goes through that phase, right, where they want to become something new every day. So for my younger brother, it was an astronaut on one day and a carpenter on the next. A NASA scientist on one day and a fisherman the next. But I remember it was always just becoming a doctor for me. And my reasoning behind it was quite simple, that my dad was a doctor. And a little backstory, my dad is the guy I respect the most in the entire world. There is nobody I look up to more than my father. And one of the peculiar things I noticed about him, and I remember even back then, was that he was always happy. And till date, I've never seen him sad or even normal for that matter. Anytime I see him, all day, every day, he's at least 5 standard deviations above normal in terms of his happiness, in terms of his mental state. And so for younger Sahaj, it was simple. He decided that he would become a doctor and then he would also be that happy. As time passed by, people started to get serious with this question. People started to get more realistic. And I remember so many people telling me, I remember even my friends telling me that, that it was very difficult to become a doctor, that one needed to study a lot to actually become one. And I remember so many people asking me to reconsider my goals, reconsider my aspirations. But younger Sahaj was a stubborn one, man. Younger Sahaj was an overconfident, stubborn fuck. Okay, so let me tell you his plan. To younger Sahaj, things were very black and white. He knew that his marks till the 9th grade didn't matter whatsoever. And it was only the 10th grades that would actually decide whether he even got to take science in the first place. So he thought to himself, why waste time till the 9th grade? Why waste effort till the 9th grade? He decided to just start studying in the 10th. He was confident that in the 10th grade he would become a completely different person, that he would suddenly out of nowhere become the studious guy. He would start studying all day at home, he would start paying attention in class, he would stop bunking lectures, he was going to do all of it. And I remember this weird instance that goes to show how confident he was in his plans. So we used to play basketball with some seniors, and one day I really don't know how and from where, but I got to know that one of the guys we used to play with he was in the 10th grade and he wasn't really doing well, he wasn't scoring well. I'm sure he wasn't flunking, but he wasn't anywhere near the top of his class. And I remember starting to look at him with such disgust, starting to I thought to myself, what's wrong with this guy? Does he not realize how important 10th grade is? Does he not realize that his entire future is dependent on this 10th grade? I think I was in the 9th grade at that point, and I'm pretty sure he was putting in a lot more work than I was, and he was scoring much better than I was. But just because he was in the 10th grade and I was in the 9th, I was in some way looking down at him like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And then I went into the 10th grade, and as it should come as no surprise, I didn't change anything about myself. Man, it's so weird to think about this, that all my life, my plan was that I would start studying in the 10th grade, and in the 10th, I don't even remember trying. That's the fucked up part. I don't even remember trying to change things, trying to, to do what I had told myself that I would do all these years. I didn't even start studying like 10% more. I never used to open my books till the 9th grade, and I never opened my books even in the 10th grade. When I went into the 11th and 12th grade, then of course I dropped my plans to become a doctor, but this stayed with me. I remember feeling that there was something seriously wrong with me, that I was fucked in the head for for this happening to me, for me planning to do something for all these years and then completely dropping it in the end. And then I went to college. So me and my entire friend group, all of us, we used to smoke a lot. Like after every lecture, we'd go down to get a cigarette. And of course, this didn't come up frequently, but anytime it did, anytime anyone said, are we going overboard with this? Everyone else would respond so confidently and say that we were definitely going to stop as soon as we finished college. I remember us talking about this a couple of times, that the night before graduation was the last time we'd smoke as much as we wanted, and then the next day is when all of us would stop cold turkey, like never again. And I remember even then seeing the confidence on their faces gave me flashbacks of my younger self, when I was so confident that I would change myself in the 10th grade. And I'm not surprised that I'm the only one from that entire group, from everyone I knew in fact, who's completely stopped all of it. Those who were doing it once or twice a week are still doing it once or twice a week. Those who were doing it day in and day out are still doing all of it day in and day out. Things are never just going to change, man. You're going to have to actively take steps, actively decide to change things, and then take action on that. Okay, I have an embarrassing one for you. It's partly so embarrassing because of how recent it is. This from a few months ago, from around the time I started my YouTube channel. So I was addicted to this game, Clash of Clans. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. I'm sure most of you are cringing right now that you're sitting here listening to and watching a guy who was addicted to this game. But I don't know what it was about this game, man. I had been playing it for the last 7-8 years, and I had been able to get rid of all of my other addictions of PC games, of Call of Duty Mobile, of all of these other games. But I don't know what it was about this one. I just couldn't shake it off. And so I remember just a few months ago, I opened up this game. First thing in the morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, the worst thing that a man on self-improvement can do. And I opened up the chat. There's a chat, right? There's a place where people from the same clan can sit and chat with each other, talk to each other. So I saw that around 5-6 of these guys had been talking to each other, and one of these guys asked, "How old are you guys?" And every single response started with the threes. There were 230s, there was 131, there were 232s or 33s. Instantly, I felt disgusted by these guys. I went, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? 30-year-old men sitting here and playing Clash of Clans? And within a second, I was transported back to my 9th grader self, who had very similar concerns about a 10th grader. I was instantly sent back to my college self who was confident about his grasp on his addictions. I sat there thinking about this for a few minutes, and then I asked myself, how would 8th grader Sahaj feel if he found out that this is what you were doing today? How would 8th grader Sahaj feel if he found out that after you would officially become an adult, once you would graduated from college, once you would supposedly become a man, you were sitting there playing Clash of Clans? How would he feel if he found out that 8 years later he would be sitting there and doing exactly what he was back then? How disgusted would he be of himself, and how disgusted would he be of you? In that 1 second, after that one thought, I got over this 8-year addiction. I deleted the game then and there. It can be very difficult to set standards to judge yourselves by, and it's impossible to live up to other people's expectations. So fuck everybody else, fuck what anybody says. Set standards for yourself, set expectations for yourself, and live up to them. Visualize exactly the kind of man you want to become in 10 years. I'm not talking about the success you're going to have. I'm not talking about the things that you're going to have. I'm talking about the habits you want to inculcate, the kind of man you want to become. Visualize exactly who you're going to be in 10 years and start working on that from today onwards. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you around.